Welcome back to the Caleb Files. A lot of leaders want to know how they can make their teams truly high performance. How do you ensure that your team functions as one tight unit that is committed to success? How do you ensure that you're not always gathering sheep, so to speak? As a leader, you have one job really above and beyond everything else. This primary responsibility you have as a leader is to ensure that your team functions as one cohesive unit, free of dysfunctions, silos, internal rivalries, ambivalence, or worse, apathy towards collective targets, and so on. So today, we are beginning a 5-part series on the secret sauce to a cohesive and successful team. So step 1, what do you have to have? The first thing you need to have on your team is trust. It is difficult, if not completely impossible, to have effective and productive working relationships without trust. Now, there are two ways of understanding this, two ways of looking at trust, if you will. First, and this is how Stephen Covey describes it in his book, Speed of Trust. He says, trust is a feeling that one individual has for another individual's capability and reliability, supported by their past actions. So in other words, Tom did X the last time. Therefore, I think Tom will do X this time as well. Now, it is wonderful to have that kind of trust in your colleagues, absolutely. But there is another way to look at trust, the way we think is critical to the success of your team. There is a bit of a paradox with this one. The second way of looking at trust and building trust is simultaneously simpler and yet in some ways harder. Or it needs a bit of effort, in other words. So many leaders prefer not to have to touch this aspect of trust. Many leaders also shy away from it because they think this is either too soft and mushy or new agey. They did not go to business school and spend all that money to do this, after all. So here's the way to understand trust in your team. It is about relationships, and it is about, ready for it, vulnerabilities. When a team member exposes to the others on the team their vulnerabilities, their fears, concerns, apprehensions, worries, there is a certain unspoken commitment that is formed to one another. There is a sense that we are all in this together, all on the same boat. This kind of trust, based on a vulnerable openness to the other, is the secret to a strong relationship. This kind of trust is really step number 1 to transforming your team into a strong and cohesive unit. If you can get your team on the path to building this kind of trust, here's what will happen. They will feel able to rely upon one another. They will be more likely to cooperate as a group. They will be more willing to take thoughtful risks. They will communicate with each other more effectively and openly. Listen, leadership today is not just about big vision or huge targets or creating strategies to reach there. Many organizations that are struggling today are already doing those things, but by themselves they do not suffice. Leaders today need to focus their energies on building synergy among their team members. They need to focus on developing a sense of belongingness with one another, a sense of ownership, a sense of being one with the organization. I want you to be aware, though, a bit of caution. Trust is fragile as you begin to build it, but once built over time with honesty, openness, consistency, and respect, it is like the foundations of a modern skyscraper. You can continue to build your organization, your team, higher and higher, well into the clouds these days, isn't it? And the results, by the way, begin to show almost immediately. Let me leave you with 2 quotes for you to chew on as you think about trust. But before that, please like, subscribe, and share this video. The first quote is from Henry Firestone, the American businessman who founded the Firestone Tire Company. Fundamental honesty, he says, is the keystone to business. And the second is from Brene Brown, TED speaker, author, host of the Unlocking Us podcast. Vulnerability is not weakness. Cheers.